she screamed. "Call the cops!" And before I could move, her hand snapped across my daughter's face. The sound cut through the street. My daughter froze, eyes wide, holding back tears, while Karen stood there shaking with rage like she owned the air we were breathing. "Your girl disrespected my son," she shouted, pointing at a cheap clipboard like it was a badge. Neighbors stepped out, phones half raised, unsure who was wrong. I kept my voice calm even as my fists burned. "She said no," I said. Karen laughed and leaned close to my daughter. "In this community, no is not an answer." Then she slapped her again, slower this time like she wanted everyone to see. I pulled my daughter behind me as Karen slapped a bright orange notice on our door. "Show violation," she said. "You're done here." A tow truck rolled in like it was already waiting, chains clinking toward our car. My daughter whispered, "Dad." "Please." I nodded and looked Karen straight in the eye. "Touch my family again," I said quietly. "And you'll wish you never learned my name?" She smirked. The truck lifted our car anyway. Somewhere down the block, a siren whooped. Not for us, not yet. And in my pocket, my phone buzzed with a message. I'd been waiting for Karen, crossed her arms as the car disappeared down the street. "That's what happens when you raise a rude kid," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. My daughter's cheek was red now. I wiped it with my thumb and felt her shaking. A neighbor tried to speak up, but Karen snapped, "HOA business. Stay out of it." Then she leaned closer to me and lowered her voice. "Your daughter embarrassed my son. He deserves respect." I laughed once, short and cold. "Respect isn't forced." Her eyes went dark. She pulled out her phone and said, "I already called the police." Two men in black uniforms arrived fast. Too fast. No marked car. No badges I recognized. One grabbed my arm and said, "You're under arrest for disorderly conduct." My daughter cried out. Karen smiled like she'd won. "Take him," she said, "and call child services. That man is dangerous." I looked at the fake cop's boots, then his shaky hands. "I didn't fight. I just asked one thing. Before you do this, can I make one call?" Karen laughed again. "Go ahead. No one's saving you now." I pressed call, put the phone on speaker, and said calmly, "Hey, it's me. She did it. And yes, there are fake cops." The line stayed silent for one long second. Then a voice replied, steady and sharp, "Don't move. Real units are already on the way." Karen's smile slipped just a little, but she didn't notice the neighbor. Across the street quietly, hitting record. One of the fake cops tightened his grip, but his eyes kept drifting down the street. Karen noticed and snapped, "What are you waiting for?" "Arrest him." I stayed still. My daughter held my jacket like she was afraid I'd disappear. Minutes felt heavy. Then real sirens came closer. Not one, but many. Blue and red lights flooded the street. The fake cops stepped back fast. "This isn't part of the plan," one of them whispered. A real patrol car stopped hard. Then another. Doors opened. A tall officer walked straight past Karen and looked at me. "Sir, are you hurt?" Karen rushed forward. "Officer! He attacked my son. He's trespassing. I'm HOA president." The officer didn't even look at her. He nodded at my daughter's face. "Who did that?" My daughter pointed without a word. Karen's mouth opened, then closed. "She's lying," Karen said. "This man is violent." I reached into my pocket slowly and held up my phone. "Everything's recorded," I said. The slap. The threats. The fake arrest. The officer turned to the two men in black. "IDs, now!" They ran. One made it 3 steps before he was tackled. The other slipped and fell. Karen backed away, shaking her head. "This is a mistake," she muttered. The officer looked at her coldly. "Ma'am, you might want to stop talking." I leaned down to my daughter and whispered, "You did nothing wrong." She nodded. Karen's voice cracked as she shouted, "You can't do this to me! I run this place!" I stood up straight and said the line that made everyone go quiet. "No, you don't, and you never did." Karen's knees went weak when another officer walked up and said, "We know who you are." She tried to smile, tried to act calm. "Good. Then you know I'm in charge here." The officer shook his head. "Actually, we know you've been pretending to be." He held up a folder. Papers slid out, complaints, photos, videos. My daughter looked up at me, confused. I squeezed her hand. Karen started talking fast. They broke the rules. I warned them. I was protecting the community. The officer turned to me. Sir, are you the property owner at 118? I nodded. Karen laughed loud, almost desperate. Owner? He's just renting? I approved nothing. I pulled one paper from my pocket and handed it over. The officer read it once, then again. His eyebrows lifted. This land, he said slowly, is not under HOA control. Karen froze. That's not possible. I stepped forward. It is. The HOA map you use is fake. This block was never added. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Phones came up. Karen's voice cracked. You're lying. Another officer spoke up. Ma'am, there's more. He turned his tablet so she could see. A video played. Her voice, her slap, her words about forcing respect, her plan with the fake cops. Karen screamed, Turn that off! The officer locked the screen. I looked at her and said quietly, You slapped my child. To control me. She backed away, shaking. And that's when the officer said the words she never expected to hear. Karen Miller, you are under arrest. Karen started crying the moment the cuffs clicked. But no one rushed to help her. She looked around like the street owed her something. You can't arrest me, she yelled. I built this HOA. I decide who belongs. An officer guided her toward the car while she kept shouting my name, calling me a liar, a nobody. My daughter pressed her face into my side. I felt her breathing slow. Then another officer walked up and said, Sir, there's an open report we need to talk about. Karen's head snapped back. What report? He looked at her. Child endangerment, false police report, and impersonating law enforcement. Her face drained. She whispered, That wasn't part of it. The officer paused. Part of what? She said nothing. I spoke instead. She threatened to take my daughter away if I didn't obey. The officer nodded and turned to his partner. Add coercion, Karen screamed. As they put her in the car, her phone slipped from her hand and slid across the road. A neighbor picked it up. Officer? He said. You might want to see this. On the screen was a group chat. HOA board members. Messages about towing cars, scaring families, using fake cops. One line stood out. If anyone resists, we make an example. The officer's jaw tightened. This goes deeper. The tow truck driver suddenly tried to leave. Another officer stopped him. Not so fast. My car was unhooked. Keys handed back. I knelt in front of my daughter. We're going home, I said. She looked past me at Karen in the back seat and whispered, Is she gone for good? I didn't answer, because I had a feeling. This was only the middle, not the end. By nightfall, the street felt different. Quiet but heavy. Karen was gone, yet her shadow was still there. An officer stayed behind and said, Sir, you should know something. He lowered his voice. Karen wasn't acting alone. My daughter looked up fast. What do you mean? The officer glanced at the houses around us. Some board members helped her. They paid for the fake cops. They signed the tow orders. A chill ran through me. Just then, a black SUV slowed near our house. Windows dark. It stopped. My daughter grabbed my arm. The officer's hand went to his radio. The window rolled down. A man in a suit leaned out and smiled. Rough day, he said. I represent the HOA. I stepped forward. You represent criminals. He laughed softly. Or maybe we can make this all disappear. He looked at my daughter. Kids get scared. Accidents happen, the officer snapped. Sir, leave now. The man raised his hands. Just business. The SUV drove off. The officer turned to me. That was a threat, I nodded. I know. He hesitated, then said, Between us, you didn't tell me everything earlier, did you? I met his eyes. No, he waited. I said the words slow. I didn't just buy this land. I helped design the laws that protect it. His face changed. You're federal. I didn't answer. Inside the house, I locked the door, checked the cameras, and hugged my daughter tight. She whispered, Dad, are they coming back? I kissed her forehead. If they do, I said, looking at the screens lighting up one by one, this time, they won't be ready. Morning came with black cars lining the street. Not HOA, not local police. Men and women in clean jackets stepped out, calm and quiet. The same officer from last night walked up to me and nodded with respect. "They're here," he said. Karen's group chat had done more damage than she ever knew. Doors opened up and down the block. Board members were pulled out in robes, in suits, in panic. One tried to run, another begged. A woman screamed that she was just following orders. No one listened. My daughter watched from the window. I stood beside her. A man from the SUV was cuffed last. As they passed my house, he looked at me and hissed, "You think you won?" I leaned closer and spoke low. "This isn't winning. This is accountability." He looked confused. A federal agent stopped and read out loud, "All HOA authority on this land is suspended." Papers were taped to doors. Towels reversed. Fines erased. Neighbors cried. One old vet saluted me. My daughter squeezed my hand and smiled for the first time since the slap. An agent turned to me and said, "You could have shut this down years ago." I nodded. I wanted them to choose the right thing. He looked back at the arrested board and said, "They didn't." As the last car drove away, my daughter asked, "Dad, why did she hate us so much?" I looked at the empty street and answered honestly, "Because bullies panic when they lose control." And far down the road, I saw Karen's house, with a notice on the door she could never rip down. The street was calm again, but it didn't feel weak anymore. It felt free. Kids played where Karen used to stand and shout. Neighbors waved, not scared this time. My daughter walked beside me, head high. A week later, the court date came. Karen stood there without makeup, without power, shaking as the judge read every charge: assault, false reports, threats to a child, abuse of authority. She tried to speak, but the judge stopped her. "You had power," he said, "and you used it to hurt people." The gavel hit. Just like that. It was over. Outside, my daughter asked, "Dad, why didn't you hit her back?" I knelt down and looked her in the eyes. "Because real strength is knowing the law will hit harder." She smiled. That night, we parked our car in our driveway and left it there. No notes, no threats, just quiet. I stood on my porch, feeling the land under my feet. I earned it. I protected it. And no fake badge, no angry Karen, no twisted HOA could ever take that away. I didn't raise my daughter to be scared. I raised her to be free. And in this country, that still means something. Months later, a letter arrived with a plain seal. No return name. Inside was one page. "Case closed." At the bottom, a handwritten line said, "Thank you for not staying quiet." I folded it and put it away. That evening, my daughter asked if we could plant a tree in the front yard. "Right here," she said, "so everyone can see it." We dug together as the sun went down. A neighbor walked over and said, "You know, the HOA is gone for good." I nodded. "Good." The next day, a moving truck stopped at Karen's old house. Someone else was taking it over. No clipboard, no threats, just boxes. As I watched, my phone buzzed one last time. A news alert popped up. Former HOA president sentenced. New laws passed to stop HOA abuse statewide. I smiled, not proud, just calm. My daughter looked up at the tree we planted and said, "She thought she could control us." I answered softly. "She judged the wrong family." The wind moved through the leaves, light and steady, and for the first time, nothing felt like a fight anymore. It felt like home. Weeks turned into months, and life finally settled. My daughter laughed freely in the yard, running past the tree we planted, her cheeks rosy and bright. I watched from the porch, coffee in hand, feeling the kind of peace I hadn't known in years. Then one evening, a knock came at the door. I opened it slowly. A man in plain clothes handed me an envelope and nodded. Evidence recovered from Karen's devices. "The board members are being investigated further," he said. Inside the envelope were documents, videos, and emails, proof that the network of fake HOA enforcers went even higher than we imagined. My daughter peeked over my shoulder, eyes wide. "Does that mean they can't hurt anyone else?" I smiled. "Exactly. Because what we didn't know will protect others now." That night, I tucked her into bed and whispered, "Always remember, justice isn't about fighting with your hands. It's about standing strong even when no one else will." She hugged me tight. Outside, the street was quiet, but I could feel it. The energy had shifted. Power no longer came from fear. It came from truth, courage, and the will to protect what's yours. And for the first time since that first slap, I truly knew. We had won. We had won, completely and finally. Karen was finally caught. Her fake cops and lies exposed for everyone to see. My daughter was safe, our home was ours, and the HOA's lies were completely exposed. I looked at her and said, "Justice isn't about fighting. It's about standing strong." She smiled and whispered, "We didn't lose." From that day on, no one could ever touch our land or our freedom.